That's right. Back at it again, Full Custom Hot Dog here, doing another Blu-ray review. That's right. Today we're going to be talking about Nightmare Weekend. Finally get to talk about this movie from 1986, directed by Henri Sala, a French director who's still alive, born in 1986, has directed just a ton of erotica. That's what he was kind of known for from what it sounds like. There's a ton of fun stories to talk about with this movie. So before we get into that, let's talk about the disc itself. So, released by Vinegar Syndrome, some pretty interesting extras. We've got Thank God It's Monday, Surviving Nightmare Weekend with Dean Gates, an interview with Mark Gottlieb, alternate R-rated edits, original theatrical trailers. The interviews are fantastic. I highly recommend them because this movie, it was such an incredible shit show. And the two interviews, one is with the producer and one was with the special effects guy. And you really get an idea of what this movie went through. And it's not surprising too when you watch this thing. You're just like, what the hell is going on? In terms of the disc itself, I'm going to go ahead and give it a B, I guess, because there's no commentaries, things like that, but it looks good and sounds good. I mean, it's Vinegar Syndrome. Their stuff is always great. But let's go ahead and talk about Nightmare Weekend, a movie that I couldn't wait to talk about the moment I saw it. Boy. According to IMDb, a female scientist performs experiments on 3 college girls that turn them into drooling, murderous mutants. And yes, those events do happen. However, they're not really until the end of the movie. This film does a lot of meandering, as it's not completely sure what it wants to be. I don't even know where to start with this thing, besides prefacing all of this by saying this is easily one of the stupidest, dumbest movies I've ever seen. Nothing makes sense. It's bad, but the effects are good. I can't think of... I have probably said this multiple times. This is the dumbest movie I've ever seen. I watch a lot of dumb movies, and I feel like this could be the dumbest movie I've ever seen. Why? So many scenes are stitched together that don't completely make sense. The story doesn't even make sense. A lot of random things seem to happen that you're not too sure why. I definitely wasn't. And by the end, I couldn't help but just blurt out laughing because it was so weird. I don't know where to start on the plot of this one. I guess we should maybe start with how it was made, at least according to the production and the interviews. So, I mentioned Henri Sala, the director, was French. The scriptwriter initially wrote the script in French, and from what it sounds like, it was then translated into English. A chunk of the crew was French, and so you obviously now have an issue with communication, as not everyone's on the same page linguistically. Terrible move, by the way. It seems like, anyway. So they start to film with this French translated into English script. Then another script is made, a rewrite, again written in French, and that's kind of last minute. And those things get translated into English, and then you have our movie. For some reason, most of the cast had their voices dubbed in post-production. Only 2 people were able to redo their voice, one of which is one of the gas attendants. Yes, so a man with 30 seconds of screen time was able to redo his voice, and most of the other stars weren't. Can't remember who the other one was. So, obviously this is a recipe for disaster. They did do some reshoots to beef up some of the makeup effects, which was a good call, because one of the standouts for this film are the makeup effects. They're very good here. I like those a lot. Probably the best part of this film. However, the story is completely insane. You have this hot girl who lives in her room almost exclusively, doesn't go out much. She has some friends. It seems like those friends are going to come over to stay. And that sounds like a normal movie. I'm leaving out a ton of details here. Like, the hot girl has a sentient hand puppet that works a computer in her room that he uses to summon pinballs if someone is in danger. And those pinballs kill people? So initially I thought this was going to be a Phantasm ripoff, which made me very excited. I'm in a chat with a couple friends and I said, guys, I think this is a Phantasm ripoff. I was very excited. And then the plot becomes that those silver balls are made by the hot girl's dad for behavior control. And so they're going to run these experiments. And so the dad's assistant enlists these girls to come stay at the mansion so they can run these behavioral experiments using these balls that appear to get turned into pinballs from other objects, but that's unbeknownst to the owner of the objects. And this is all towards the end. There's a lot of banging here. So if you're excited to watch a bunch of bangers bang, this is the movie full of bangers banging and constantly. It's incredible. So lots of banging ensues at this house as they meet up with people from the local diner or something, some randos, and the house is almost like the generic scene in every horror movie where they're having a sleepover, except now you have these silver balls that are turning people into these monsters. Nobody seems to care about this, by the way. They get turned, they get super horny, and some people just kind of go about their business afterward. There's also a plot in here of the assistant, the doctor's assistant, who's using this technology to funnel money or something to some shadow man. Not a literal demonic shadow man, I mean like a shadowy corpo or something, you know? So there's that plot, and then her lover, who I thought was her brother, is supposed to be taking that money to them. I sound confused, I'm sure. And that's what I could get out of this movie. Very awful. I kind of love it for that, though. I would love to watch this again, because it's completely stupid. If you can get more out of this plot, be my guest. I don't understand what the hell. Why the hell? It's just completely nuts. And the whole thing with the different scripts being made and having to be translated into different languages or whatever, that's all par for the course when you watch this thing. This is so bizarre, and to see so many people not doing their own voice work, absolutely off-putting. It is worth noting that you have Dale Midkiff in here, who you also may know for Pet Sematary. Just very surprising to see a familiar face in what I would call a complete piece of garbage, as this movie is awful. I don't know who to recommend this to. If you are a bad movie connoisseur, then this is up your alley. If you're watching this movie, then potentially you might be a good customer. I only bought this because of the Severance sale. I think they just created a slip for this movie. This is an older release of theirs. I never paid attention to it because I thought the cover made it look like too good of a movie. It's weird to say, right? But the regular Vinegar Syndrome cover is very cool. And then they did this slip cover and it just looked wacky. It looked weird as hell. So I bought it because of that, and that met my expectations more. If I bought the movie thinking it was the movie in this good cover, there's no way I'd be happy with this product. But this is completely bizarre, bonkers, and some of you are going to be surprised to hear this, but I'm happy to have this part of my collection. So of course, let me know what you think in the comments. I'm your host, Full Custom Hot Dog. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Full Custom Hot Dog without the last because that's just too long for Twitter. So thank you all for watching, and until next time. If you like what you see,
I love what I see.
Make sure to hit that subscribe button and the bell for notifications so you can watch whatever comes next. And if you like the music you hear, you can follow me on SoundCloud and Spotify. Check the description for links.